However, when you do record it, please don't post on social media. We have copyright violations to be concerned about. When you do post on social media, please don't refer to songs by their actual names or actual shows. Fall Musical, Marshall Musical, nobody's gonna find that. But if they think we did Grease, then we're in trouble.
Good evening and welcome to the Paul Cox Theater. Tonight we are proud to present Playing Favorites Jr., a collection of award-winning songs from some of our favorite shows and movies. We invite you to enjoy everything from Disney to classic Broadway. Since the early days of Broadway, musicals have been reimagined from what were originally movies. Pygmalion became Lerner and Loewe's My Fair Lady. Green Grow the Lilacs became Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. However, it seems recently we have been dominated by new movie musicals. Ghost the Musical, Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, and Finding Neverland, to name a few. Nobody did the movie musical better than Disney, and recently they have been turning their animated shows into live-action musicals like The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. In 1994, the Tony Award for Best Musical went to Disney's Beauty and the Beast. So to open our show, please be our guest.
Seussical is a musical by Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty based on the stories of Dr. Seuss. Mainly Horton Hears a Who, Horton Hatches the Egg, and Miss Gertrude McFuzz that debuted on Broadway in 2000. The play's story is a complex amalgamation of many of Seuss's most famous books. After a Broadway run, the production moved to 2 U.S. national tours and a European tour. It has become a beloved classic for schools, communities, and regional theaters. In 2001, The Cat in the Hat, Kevin Chamberlain, was nominated for both a Tony Award and a Drama Desk Award for Best Actor in a Musical. It's Possible comes from the story of McElligot's Pool in the book One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
Swimming towards me. Oh, the sea is so full of a number of fish. If a fellow was patient, he might get his wish. And that makes me think that I'm not such a fool when I sit here and fish in McElligot's pool. It's possible, anything's possible. It's possible, anything's possible. It's possible, anything's possible.
The Lion King is a musical based on the 1994 Disney animated film of the same name, with music by Elton John and lyrics by Tim Rice. The musical features actors in animal costumes and as well as giant hollow puppets. This show is produced by Disney Theatrical Productions. It is Broadway's third longest running show in history and the highest grossing Broadway production of all time, having sold more than $1 billion in tickets. In September 2014, The Lion King became top earning title in the box office history for both stage productions and films, surpassing the previous record held by The Phantom of the Opera. According to the making of The Lion King, the original opening scene featured a dialogue including most of the main characters, but directors Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff scrapped it when they heard the final version of The Circle of Life. Curiously, in the film, there is one small yellow beetle that Timon finds under a log that has Mickey Mouse ears on its back. Winning 5 Tony Awards, including Best Director and Best Choreography, this is He Lives in You from Disney's The Lion King, featuring Molly.
Night and the spirit of life calling Mamela, and a voice with the fear of a child answers, I am Mamela. Ooh, because of Coco. Wait, 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 wait,
Simba, you have forgotten me.
No, how could I?
You have forgotten who you are, and so you have forgotten me. Look inside yourself. You must take your place in the circle of life.
But how can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are. You are my son, and the one true king.
No, wait, don't leave me, please. Don't leave me.
Hey, Puff, what was that? The weather. Must be peculiar, eh?
Yeah, looks like the winds are changing.
Ah, change is good.
But it's not easy. Ow, sheesh, what was that for?
It doesn't matter. It was in the past.
Yeah, but it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or you can learn from it. You see? So what are you gonna do now?
I'm going back.
Good. Get out of here. He lives in you. Hiya, hiya, hiya. You want to go, go. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Into the wonder. Hiya, hiya, hiya. In your
Annie is a Broadway musical based on the popular Harold Gray comic strip Little Orphan Annie, with music by Charles Struce, lyrics by Martin Cheenan, and book by Thomas Meehan. The original Broadway production opened in 1977 and ran for nearly 6 years, setting a record for Alvin Theater, now called Neil Simon Theater. It spawned numerous productions in many countries, as well as national tours, and won the Tony Award for Best Musical, Best Score, Best Book of a Musical, and Best Leading Actress. At the time it was made, Annie the movie was the most expensive musical ever made. The musical songs Tomorrow and It's a Hard Knock Life are among its most popular musical numbers.
It's a hard knock life for us.
Set in early 19th century France, it is the story of Jean Valjean, a French peasant in his quest for redemption after serving 19 years in jail for having stolen a loaf of bread for his sister's starving child. Valjean decides to break his parole and start his life anew after a kindly bishop inspires him by a tremendous act of mercy, but he is relentlessly tracked down by a police inspector named Javert. Along the way, Valjean and a slew of characters is swept into a revolutionary period in France, where a group of young idealists make their last stand at a street barricade. Winning 9 of the 12 Tony Awards it was nominated for in 1987, including Best Musical, Best Book, Best Original Score, as well as 2 acting awards, 2 technical awards, and Best Director. This is Castle on a Cloud from Les Miserables.
Happiness. We have already heard one song from a show based off the comic strip, Annie. Broadway has also had other shows based on comics and cartoons, including Little Abner, Starmites, and Blondie. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is a 1967 musical comedy with music and lyrics by Clark Gessner, based on the characters created by cartoonist Charles M. Schulz in his comic strip Peanuts. The musical has been a popular choice for amateur theater productions because of its small cast and simple staging. John Gordon was credited with the book of the show, but according to Gessner's forward word in the published script, John Gordon is a collective pseudonym that covers Gessner, the cast members, and the production staff, all of whom worked together to assemble the script. Featured actor Roger Bart won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor, as did Broadway legend Kristen Chenoweth in one of her very early roles. Here is Happiness from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Our next song comes from the show that played on Broadway just this past January. Based on the novel by Roald Dahl, the story focuses on a precocious 5-year-old girl who has telekinesis, who also loves reading, overcomes obstacles in her life caused by her family and school, and helps her teacher to reclaim her life. It won a special Tony Award in 2012 for excellence in theater and is currently on a national tour. Here is Emma and her 7th and 8th grade girls with When I Grow Up from Matilda.
You have to find beneath the bed each night to be a grown up. Just because I find my life's not married doesn't mean that you just have to grin and bear it. If you always take it on the chin and wear it, nothing will change. Just because I find myself in this story doesn't mean that everything is written for me. If I think the ending is fixed already, I might as well be saying I think that it's okay. And that's not that.
Grease is a 1971 musical by Jim Jacobs and Warren Casey. Named after the 1950s working-class youth subculture known as greasers, it takes place in 1959 at fictional Rydell High School and follows 10 working-class teenagers as they navigate the complexities of peer pressure, politics, personal core values, and love. The score borrows heavily from the early sounds of rock and roll. Many of the songs from the original Broadway version were played on the jukebox in the movie version. The songs from the movie were then added to the to the live show when it was revived on Broadway. It was nominated for 7 Tony Awards but didn't win any. Most of the Tony Awards from that year went to a mostly forgotten musical called Two Men of Verona. Here are the guys singing Born to Hand Jive from Greece.
Mark Kennedy of the Associated Press wrote in his review, "This is a musical hits all the right spots, achieving something close to Broadway grace. Helped that the musical has great original tunes by songwriter Alan Menken and lyricist Glenn Slater that skitters from Motown to soul and funk to disco and even a little jokey Barry White. Menken and Slater, who also teamed up for The Little Mermaid, know perfectly how to switch up the mood and tempo in the original motion picture. Whoopi Goldberg played Sister Mary Frances, who is based on a real nun. When the live music played in London, Whoopi joined the cast for a short time as the Mother Superior, featuring McKenna in the solo This Is Joyful Joyful from Sister Act.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee. Hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and
13 is an original musical with music and lyrics by Jason Robert Brown and book by Dan Ellish and Robert Horn. Following a move from New York City to small-town Indiana, young Evan Goldman grapples with his parents' divorce, prepares for his impending bar mitzvah, and navigates the complicated social circles of a new school. 13 is the only musical ever with a cast and band entirely made of teenagers. In 2014, CBS Films announced that they intend to produce a film adaptation of the musical and won a Drama Desk Award for Best Lyrics. This is Heather and Michaela and the company with Brand New You from 13.
I saw the cover and I judged the book. I fit it when look, but now I see a brand new you. I never knew that you could understand, but I looked up and you reached out your hand. But now I see a brand new you. Something more than every itty bitty thing you do. I see a brand new you.
I didn't know where I was meant to be. I figured no one would be there for me. But now, I see a brand new you. I didn't know that you could understand, but I looked up and you reached out your hand. But now, I see a brand new you.
The 1975 winner for Best Musical was an urban update of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, called simply The Wiz. Dorothy was played by a young Stephanie Mills. The soft rock score includes songs Ease Down on the Road, Can You Feel a Brand New Day, and this next song. This is Alexis singing Home from The Wiz.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. Wind that makes the tall trees bend into leaning. Suddenly the snowflakes that fall have a meaning, sprinkling the scene makes it all clean. Maybe there's a chance for me to go back now that I have some direction. It would sure be nice to be back home where there's love and affection. And just maybe I can convince time to slow up. Give me enough time in my life to grow up. Time be my friend. Let me start again. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its face, but I still know where I'm going. I have had my mind spin around in space, and yet I've watched it growing. And if you're listening, God, please don't make it hard whether we should believe the things that we see. Tell us, should we run away or should we try and stay? Would it be better just to let things be? Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it's taught me to love, so it's real to me. And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a warmth of love like yours and mine, like
High School Musical, that little TV musical, then went on to have 2 sequels and launched the career of Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. Filmed over summer break on location in a Salt Lake City high school, the show is remembered for its light family feel. The popularity of the show with teens inspired Disney to license a live stage version of the show, which was performed all over the world in high school auditoriums and high school gyms. Its soundtrack was the best-selling album of 2006. It won a Teen Choice Award, a Casting Society of America Award for Best Children's Programming, and Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Children's Programming and Choreography.
for celebration. We finally figured it out. The party's on and everybody makes some noise. We're gonna scream and shout. Don't even run because we stick together. One and all.
Another Disney film to stage project originally starred Christian Bale in the lead role, played by Jeremy Jordan on Broadway. The show was adapted for the stage school musical, which coincidentally also was choreographed for Kenny Ortega. Created a live version of the show for school and amateur productions. The show was worshipped at the Paper Mill Playhouse and proved so popular it was scheduled for a 100-performance Broadway run. It said ran for 1,005 performances. It would finally be able for school productions early in 2018. Based on the story in the Newsburg strike of 1899 in New York, it won the Tony Award for Best Choreography and Best Score. These selections from Newsies.
it's everything you've heard about is true. So you ain't got any family. Well, who said you needed one? Aren't you glad nobody's waiting there for
Love was. Now I'm learning what is true, that love will do what it does. The world finds ways to sting you, and then one day decides to bring you.
Tonight we've been a lot of different places, met a lot of people, and heard both familiar tunes and some songs that you may have heard for the first time. The world of Broadway musicals gives us something for everyone. Every style, funny and dramatic, big production numbers to quiet melodies. Most importantly, they give us the opportunity to have a great time with our friends. We hope you will come and join us again for Mary Poppins, our spring show. Before we finish this evening, we have one more song to share. Originally written for the movie version of the classic musical, the song was reintroduced in a recent Broadway revival. Interestingly, Paul Schaefer of Late Night with David Letterman was the keyboardist for the original Broadway production. This show was originally written as a thesis project for Carnegie Mellon University. This is Beautiful City from Godspell.